Welcome to Am I the Bleep?
And we're back.
Welcome to Am I the Bleep, the show where two assholes coach maybe other assholes potentially.
Yeah, we're trying to do the same thing Community is, where we do the whole 6 seasons in a movie thing.
Exactly.
So hopefully you're all on board with that. I'm not sure what the movie would be. What would the plot be? Would it be about a specific post, but we just pitch it to some Hollywood big producer and they're like, "Hell's yeah, let's make that a movie"? Or do you think it would be a movie about us reading about assholes? What do you think?
I think I have a movie pitch.
Go for it, please. I'm all
Every
ears.
every person that we've ever coached comes back, right? And they're like, you told me that I'm an asshole, and now I'm out for blood. I'm gonna kill you. So they come to our houses, and we have to escape. And we go on this big adventure to like find something that'll turn back time so that we can undo this entire podcast. And then we succeed in like the end of the second act. But because we are who we are, we can't not coach people. And so we just find ourselves in the same hot water as at the beginning of the movie. And then it hard fades to black, and our fate is left to the audience to guess.
So basically, this podcast meets The Walking Dead, but just the first few seasons meets the Avengers Endgame.
Exactly.
That's what people want, right?
Not even Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War. We leave it on a sour note.
Oh yeah, like that part. But I meant like the part, spoiler alert, from 5 years ago, where everyone like goes back in time to like undo the thing, but like there's zombies and stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, exactly. We leave it on the meanest note. It just says fade to black. But am I the asshole?
Is that movie 5 years old?
It must be.
Oh, I don't think that at all.
No, wait. Yeah. Because I remember it's 5 years old. Because I remember going through. Well, Infinity War is 5 years old. So maybe Endgame is 4. Because I remember going through. I think so. Because I remember distinctly going through a breakup, which would have been 5 years ago, and then going to watch Infinity War by myself because I thought, oh, you know what? A superhero movie will make me feel great.
No, that's the worst one.
And then
the worst one to go to when you're sad.
It was 3 hours, and this was literally the day after a breakup. It was 3 hours long, and then there's like this big fight at the end, and I'm like, oh no, he's gonna win. And I remember just like shedding a tear and going home and pouring myself a big old glass of wine. I'm just like, well, today was not. Let's try again tomorrow. And then I watched like original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or something, because that makes everyone feel better.
That's uplifting. Yeah.
I'm more of an Andrew Garfield guy, but it was good too. Which is the best Spider-Man?
Like the best Spider-Man movie or the best of the Spider-Man?
The best of the Spider-Man. Now, obviously, Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie of all time. Hands down, no question.
Yeah, I don't know how controversial that is, to be honest. Like, it is a pretty solidly built film.
But between the three, like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, Spider-Man.
I think Andrew Garfield gets taken out of the running because despite his merits, his movies were bad. And so he doesn't really have a chance to shine. Tobey Maguire is the OG, but he's a better Peter Parker than he is a Spider-Man. Like, I would watch him be Peter Parker forever. But it's, what's his name? Tom Hollis?
Tom Holland, yeah.
Tom Holland. Okay, I was close.
I just remember the brunch sauce, and then I'm like, that's a person.
Tom Hollandaise is delicious, and also he's just a good Peter Parker, a good Spider-Man. He's a believable kid and a believable superhero who's a kid. You know, like that's his charm. He could be a little bit more quippy. I think he's just kind of he has a sort of feckless charm, but you know. What about you? What do you think?
Tom Holland for sure.
Yeah, and he really nails that role. I hope he keeps doing it for at least a little longer.
Just a little bit.
Hey, do we do we want to do the show, or are we just gonna? Is this an all chit chat episode? Because I'm
No,
down
no,
for that.
no, no, no. We're gonna do it. I just wanted to have a really awkward silence, which you awkwardly ruined. Um, but that's okay. I read first last time, and because I'm really, really, really good at taking turns, I would love if you read the first one this time.
Yeah, I think it said that on all your report cards. Good at taking turns and good at sharing.
I'm very good at sharing.
That's awesome.
I am very good at sharing.
Speaking of people who are good at sharing, this poster, the little stinkster, writes, "Am I the asshole for refusing to carpool with my coworker? Me, a 22-year-old man, and my coworker Jack, a 23-year-old man, live relatively close to one another, about 2 blocks apart from one another, and we work the same hours. And his house is directly on commute. So when we realized that it was a no-brainer for us to carpool." That's a run-on sentence. Jack used to take public transit, and I used to be stuck in traffic on the QEW, a local highway that's notoriously slow. It's true, it is quite slow. It's in Toronto, so we know it well. So being able to take the HOV, high occupancy vehicle, and cruise into work cut my commute time in half. It was a win-win. The problem, Jack smells awful. Like not just like a little BO after a workout, but like fucking rank rotting onions. At work, it's tolerable, but sitting in a car for almost 40 minutes a day is just unbearable. And the smell lingers for long after he's gone. So my car just permanently smells abysmal. So after about 2 weeks of commuting together, I had enough. I decided that I should probably just be honest with him about the reason, and told him that the body odor was becoming unpleasant for me and that I didn't want to carpool anymore. He got really upset, telling me that it was unfair for me to just decide out of the blue to double his commute time and make him pay for public transit. When I talked to my girlfriend, she said I should have at least asked him to shower or something before just refusing to drive together. But previous complaints have been made in the office and he didn't change his behavior, so I assumed there was no point here. I genuinely feel awful and I don't know if I'm the asshole here. Any thoughts? Jonathan, any thoughts?
Mm, yeah, I totally agree with the girlfriend, like fully and completely. I think like there can be a lot of reasons people have really bad body odor. Like that's not an uncommon thing. It could be as a result of depression. It could be there's a medical thing. And to original poster's point, um, somebody in the office said something before there were complaints in the office, but complaints from work and having just a one-to-one conversation can be a really really different thing. I know growing up I've had friends who really like, especially in high school, like everyone smells bad, but I'm very very sensitive to that stuff. So if I've had a friend who doesn't smell good, like I just take them aside, have a personal conversation, say, hey, like I noticed this, I know that's not like the way you want to smell, like what's up, right? And obviously the conversation doesn't sound like that, but it's early in the morning here and I'm having my first coffee. I'm much more polite than that. But, having a one-to-one conversation where it's not in public, it's not in front of a bunch of people, it's not going to affect your work is really really the way to go. And just to cut somebody off and say you're out of the carpool because you smell bad, maybe there's a reason why they smell bad and they didn't even take the time to listen. So obviously it's their car and they're the ones driving. Although the original poster did say it was a win-win for both of them to share, because you get the high occupancy vehicle lane and they can cut the commute time in half. Um, I would say they're a bit of an asshole. I would say maybe a 4, somewhere there, because I think they should just have a conversation. Why is it so quick to cut somebody off? Just say, "Hey man, like let's talk about hygiene." You know what I mean? What do you think?
Well, we have context that we can add here from our own life experience. First of all,
Please.
the QEW and other highways in Toronto are pretty devastatingly slow because there's not that many ways to get into the city by car. and we, and a better historian than me could go into the reasons for why that is, and why it's still a problem, etc. But the truth is that yes, this would actually double a commute, because the high occupancy vehicle lane is so much faster if you
Yes,
can do it, if
absolutely.
you can use it. Most people are driving on their own. Yeah. So the other piece of context we can add is that there are medical reasons that someone smells bad. I didn't realize this until medical school. I always thought that someone who just like had just the gnarliest, crunchiest, just most just
Stop, stop,
nose
stop, stop,
nose
stop.
nose ticklingest VO was just not showering and not taking care of themselves. But no, like you can have there's conditions where you sweat so much that even if you were to shower, by the time you would actually start going about your day, you would start smelling pretty rank, and that has nothing to do with how well you're taking care of yourself. It's a medical
For
thing.
sure.
And though there are treatments, I don't know of any fully permanent treatments. I feel like all of them are semi-permanent. So that is to say that this isn't entirely this person's fault, perhaps. You would know if it is or isn't based on a conversation, which is why I agree with you, Jonathan. I feel like a conversation here would have gone a long way, just out of a basic respect for your new carpool buddy. Just be like, hey, like, what is going on? I mean this not out of, I'm not trying to shame you. I just want to understand. Like, is there something that I don't know about? Is there something that's going on at home? Like, if there might be other reasons other than just the one you assumed. And I feel like assuming here is really detrimental, both to this budding carpool friendship and also your own life. If you start just assuming things about other people and acting on it, you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot a lot. So I would give this guy a 4 as well, just for assuming a lot of things. I think that you're in the right. You don't owe this person a carpool. I'm not saying that, but you do owe them a conversation. And I feel like,
Yeah, yeah.
at least that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think this is a person you're working with. You've been in the car together for, a couple weeks. You knew them from before. And then literally during one day, you pick them up and you're like, yeah, this is the last ride because you smell bad. That's not a good, healthy conversation in the slightest. And so, yeah, the girlfriend has it exactly right. Go have a conversation and it could be that there's a medical condition, and, it could be that they've never gone to the doctor for it. It could be that, um, it could be a hygiene thing. It could be they're struggling to take care of themselves, or it could be for a number of other reasons. But like a good conversation is a good way to get that going. And that's different than complaints in an office, because a lot of people aren't going to listen to that or take that as like constructive feedback.
Jonathan, do you think the carryover here is like when we were all in middle school and every, dude went through puberty at kind of like the same, length of time, and everyone was just starting to stink, and everyone realized that they had a stink to them at different points, and so it became a necessity not to just like go around calling people out, but just like hoping they figure it out on their own, because otherwise you'd be having that conversation like 30-40 times a day.
Yeah. And like, I remember I had a teacher, Mrs. Stransky. Is that her name? It must have been her name.
I didn't have her, but yeah, that sounds familiar. Sure.
Yeah, I had her in grade 5 and then in grade 6 as well. And then we came back from gym class one time and she was just like, and she's very Israeli, was just like, all of you, this is how you put on deodorant. And I was like, wow, that's really, really powerful. And obviously, we're 12 years old. We probably wouldn't have been in a place where we're realizing we have these medical conditions yet or anything like that. But after that, we all move forward and definitely approached hygiene in a better way. Oh,
Shout out to all my fellow fat kids who hit it at 10 years old.
yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, that's rough.
I remember going to gym class at like in at the end of elementary school and already having the peach fuzz mustache and the hairy legs. Like that was just puberty one. That like forget about my other four puberties that I went through. But puberty one, my voice is already cracking and nobody knows what's going on yet. Like we don't have like a good sex ed course or a good like, you're growing up now course at Jewish school. So it literally was just like, oh, haha, Jonathan is turning into a werewolf.
Harry boy, people would call out in the hallways.
Did you say hurry boy maybe to another
Okay.
post?
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. You
the
go ahead.
segue game is strong.
We're segueing left, right, and now to another post.
My favorite thing about this show is not that we like a lot of shows have like an awkward silence when they're moving from segment to segment and they just edit them out. They don't tell you that, but they just edit them out. For us, we notice it and tell you up front because that's the kind of people we are. We're like, haha, that was an awkward silence. Did you mean you wanted me to move to the next thing? Staring each other in the eye. Well, now it's time, and here's an awkward pun to get us there. Jonathan Rom, are you ready for the next post?
My body is ready.
My body is ready. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that she can't expect me to do the hard things for her just because she doesn't want to do them? Let's go. I have a 17-year-old daughter named Eva who is gay. She came out years ago, but honestly, before she ever said anything to me, she made it clear as a child that she wanted very little to do with boys. My half brother James and I reconnected about 2 years ago. We knew of each other as children, but I didn't know for sure that he and I shared the same dad. We ended up doing a DNA test after our father died and confirmed that we are siblings. So now we've gotten to know one another again, and we've been slowly introducing our families to each other. He has two kids that are just a few years younger than my daughter, so Eva was really excited about finally having some cousins closer to her age. The one on her mom's side are significantly younger. She's also excited about getting to know more of my family since I'm not very close with the rest of them. We've met up a few times and it's always gone well. Everyone gets along with each other. At dinner a little while ago, James joked that Eva's boyfriends, in quotes, would have to answer to me, her uncle, and her male cousins if they broke her heart. Eva just laughed a little and said that she wasn't concerned about boys, so they wouldn't have to worry about that. Later, when they were gone, she asked if I knew how James and his family felt about the LGBTQ community. I told her that I wasn't sure because it had never come up. So then she asked me if I could find out for her. I said that she should just talk to them about it directly, since she was the one with the question. But then she said that she didn't want to ask because she didn't know James as well as I did, and it would probably be easier for me to bring it up instead. I ended up telling her that she can't expect me to do the hard things for her because she doesn't want to do them. And if she wants to tell my brother slash his family that she's gay or even find out their opinions on LGBTQ people, then she should do that herself. I thought she had let it go, but she's giving me the cold shoulder a little bit. My ex-wife actually called me earlier and told me I was being obtuse about the situation and that I actually should be willing to do this for our daughter. I feel that Eva disclosing her identity is a responsibility that should fall on her, and it's not my job to pave that road for her. Evidently, my ex and Eva both think that I'm being insensitive as well, so I wanted some outside opinions. Dr. Jonathan, are
Oh
they
boy.
the asshole?
Oh golly.
Oh, golly.
Hmm.
So, one reminder, Eva is 17. I was just scrolling through. I'm like, wait a second, how old is Eva? I was just curious. But yeah, that's where we're
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take a step back then, because this is not
Good
one that I
idea.
have an answer to off the top of my head. So let's examine this a little. Eva is um deciding whether or not she's ready to come out to this kind of new entity in her life, this extended family that she was only recently getting to know. And the dad doesn't seem to know if they are particularly LGBTQ friendly. The risk here is that people who are not LGBTQ friendly, um, being a person you come out to, is that it can be it can be a damaging experience, right? Because
Absolutely.
being rejected by people who, especially you're trying to connect with, especially a family you're trying to connect with, is it's a pretty traumatic experience. It doesn't help you develop the confidence you need to have that conversation with more and more people. It's a new challenge every time to come out, and so it's not something that you want to have like thrown in your face at any point. You really want to feel like the person is going to be at least receptive to what you're saying, and if it doesn't know that, her dad here could be a kind of bridge in that he could just test the waters for her. And so from the dad's perspective, I guess he's asking, why can't she just test the waters, right? Like, why can't she have the kind of vague conversations that people who are who haven't come out yet tend to have, where they're like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Like, well, that might be his point. Like, he doesn't necessarily expect her to drop the bomb on them without testing the waters, but she should be the one to test her waters. Oh, okay. I'm reminded of the lesson that not everything is a life lesson. Not every experience has to be a life lesson opportunity. I feel like people forget when they parent that not everything has to be like, learn to swim, buddy, because this is one of those situations where when is she really going to have to come out to family again and again and again, and not have your help? But on the other hand, it is a good skill to have. I'm not saying that she should have to do this alone. And he clarifies he would be in the room, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think I don't think he's trying to be an asshole. That's for sure. I think he is being,
You're like, it's not mens rea. It's not malicious
yeah.
intent.
Yeah, he's not trying he's not trying to run her over with his car, but he is, for, I guess, for context, I'm part of this community, and I have uh strong feelings about people coming out to anyone, because I feel like it's such a challenge to know who's safe to come out to and who's not. At the same time, it is a good skill to have. It really is. That's the dad in me being like, oh yeah, you'll benefit from having, if you can have this conversation, you can do, maybe, or maybe it doesn't translate at all.
This whole conversation has been like the Fiddler in the Roof on you. It's like, on one hand,
Yeah,
and on
I mean,
the
it
other
really,
hand.
there's good arguments for both sides.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. Here's what it should boil down to. Out of respect for your daughter, who is the one who has to basically truly suffer this burden, if it goes sour, you should just listen to her and do what she's asking. I think that you're not so much in the wrong here to say that this would be a good skill to have. It doesn't have to be in this scenario, and I think that the benefit that you get from the trust you'd build with your daughter is also pretty massive. Um, so I would say that this is a 3 out of 10 assholery. It's not intentional, but I think because of the risk for damage here, I think it is being a little bit obtuse. I might agree with the ex-wife. Yeah, sorry. That was like, I had to really get there. I didn't have that out of the pocket. I had to arrive there.
No, no,
What
no.
do you
I wasn't judging your thought process. Some of these are really difficult to think through, but um, I'm nothing if not some good comic relief. And I saw a Fiddler on the Roof bit, and I had to do it. Exactly. On one hand. So for me, I agree with a lot of what you said. And I appreciate you sharing that about being a part of the community as well. I think there's like a risk here for Eva. And I think what I struggle with a bit here for the parent for the original poster is that they didn't look at a lot of the other really good things that Ava did. Eva said, "Can I have help, please? Like, I want to have a relationship with this new family, and I'm not sure how they feel about it." Like, we see, especially now in 2023, there's a lot of really angry people towards the LGBTQ plus community, which is a terrible, horrible thing. But as a young person reading that news and being like, "Oh, does my family, these people that I don't know, are they going to be okay with me?" Um, and again, she's only 17. 17 is not like 40 years old. 17 is really young. We all often put like this, "Oh, you're 18, you're an adult now, get out of the house." But we're still developing at that age. We're still figuring things out. And
I'm
just
29. I'm barely an adult.
barely, barely. We're not 30 is the new 15, right? As they say.
With this skin moisture, of course.
We're not sponsored, but
No, we're
one
not
day,
sponsored.
one
One
day.
day. I don't know. Neutrogena, hit me up.
So I definitely think OP was being obtuse, but I agree. I don't think they had intent to be obtuse. I think they're also figuring out how they respond to those kind of things. I put it at about, I'm gonna call it a 5 because I think there were a lot of other things that they did really, really well. Like Eva, again, asked for help, asked for some support, and not even to out like to say like, "Oh yeah, my like have a separate conversation. Oh, Eva is gay, and we just wanted to tell you." It's just like trying to like, hey, like, as you're getting to no blah 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 blah. As you're getting to know new parts of the family, you want to know their opinions on things, and like that's a fine thing to do. A 4, a 4 is the answer here.
Yeah, and I'm thinking more about this, and I'm thinking like, okay, let's say you're out in the woods and you're learning like survival skills with your dad, something that's like very classic, doesn't happen a lot anymore, but let's say that's what's going on, and you're trying to build a fire, and you look at your dad and you say, yeah, I don't really feel comfortable doing this. Like I know how to start a fire in other contexts,
Yes.
but in this context, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to start a fire with like friction and a stick and whatever. Can you show me how to do this and walk me through it and be there for me? And then your dad's like, well, you're gonna have to learn how to do this on your
Yeah,
own.
then be cold then in the woods by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like the
Yeah.
consequences of not having a fire in the woods is pretty dire. And I think that it's a very simple, like, you got to be there for them in the capacity that they ask you to be. And you don't have to do things for them, right? Ava really didn't ask for that. She just asked to like, can you get a read on this? Can you clear this
Yes.
up for me? And that's pretty, that's pretty easy. It's a softball. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I want to
I I think it is unintentional assholery for sure.
yeah. I want to throw in the edit from the original poster. So after the "Am I the Asshole" bit, I love my daughter and I'm proud of her. Even wanting her to find out about my brother's views on her own, I never would have left her to handle that without me at least in the room. Reading the comments, I realized I wasn't teaching her how to be independent and do things on her own. I was likely making her feel completely unsupported. I saw this as facing her anxieties thing instead of truly thinking about it as a safety issue. I should have tried to see it from her point of view. I recognize that, and I will do more to learn in the future. I won't apologize to her and ask how she wants to go about this. And I think after the edit, I bring it down. Like, I still think the behavior was a 4, but original poster themselves is totally not an asshole because I think in our community, in like the world, there's a lot of people who are just like ignorant and unwilling to learn. And here there's somebody who says, now that I asked this question, I see that there was a mistake and I see that I could have done some harm. So I want to have a conversation with my daughter about how to do this in a healthy way. And that's it. And this is the first time, really, I've seen Am I the Asshole being a super positive environment. So that's
I
awesome.
feel like this whole subreddit could be renamed to Parents Make Mistakes.
Yeah,
And
just this
I
one.
think that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Like it'd be weird if you were always a perfect parent. It'd be
Yes.
very odd if you were constantly like, it's hard being a parent. It's you have to make a lot of on the fly decisions that are very like you're influencing an entire other human being how they're going to be for the
Yeah.
rest of their life. It's big decisions and you're constantly trying to do right by them, and then you like maybe make a call that's not so hot. I think we can. That's why I gave it a 3. I think I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
That's why I gave it a 3, because it's like you're not an asshole for making mistakes. You're an asshole if you decide that you're not going to learn from those mistakes or acknowledge them at all.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's
And,
do
and
one
speaking
more.
of making mistakes,
Yeah.
I am
You
going
you
to.
usually leave the segue to me, and I was like, all right, like what am I gonna say here? What am I gonna say? And then you took it. It was so good.
Yeah,
Professional.
the mistake was not coming up with a segue at all. So this is it.
This is it.
Um, Hey, this is something that we can talk about on air or we can edit out of the episode, but do we want to read the usernames? Do we want, because on one hand, we're kind of putting them on blast a little, but on the other hand, it is their hard work that we're, reading.
It's a good question. And if we haven't been doing that really so far, if people would prefer that, please let us know in the comments on social media. Um, I personally am indifferent to that. I haven't been doing it ever, to be honest. I look at these as like journal entries, so I've been keeping them like anonymous.
Anonymous.
But these are all posted on Reddit as usernames, so I also am not. It doesn't upset me to put it on. Like I won't edit them out. Um,
Well, I mean, hopefully subject dash hospital dash 493 isn't his or their given name
well,
and is pseudonym. So hopefully that retains the anonymity.
I guess too, it might be good to do it for the future. And listeners, this could be a good reason is that um, if you want to search up later to see what's going on in the comment thread or how things are changing, or if the original poster edits the post to share like a really good learning thing that they did, yeah, I'm down to do that. From now on, I have learned that we will read the username.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, John.
So user subject hospital 493 posts and asks, "Am I the asshole for telling my son he has to go to university, get a job, or get out?" Question mark. My wife and I have 3 children. They are 17, 15, and 10. My oldest has no intention to do anything after high school, at least none he has made clear to us. So I gave him the same ultimatum my parents gave me: either go to university, get a job, or get the fuck out. I chose to travel the world for 2 years. I had a lot of sailing experience, and my father had a lot of friends in that community, so I was able to sail around the world, earning money and working my ass off. It wasn't a 2-year vacation. My family is well off, and I could have chosen an indolent life. Good word. But I knew I would be a disappointment if I chose that. So when I got back, I enrolled in university and eventually went to work for the family business. My wife thinks that I'm being unfair to our poor baby boy, throwing him out into the world. I'm not. We have the money to pay for his university. We have the money for all 3 kids. My middle child will probably end up with a good chunk of it in her pocket. She is on track for an academic as well as a golf scholarship. The 10-year-old is 10, and who knows what he's going to do there. But he knows the plan. We have not been secretive about this role. My wife and I agreed that we would raise productive members of society before we got engaged. Her and my son think I'm being cruel to expect him to fend for himself at 18. I have offered him multiple opportunities to do other things. He has no interest in anything beyond his computer. I'm at a loss. I don't think I'm wrong for expecting an adult to adult. My parents have been already told him that they will not be giving him any money if he isn't in school or working. My wife is threatening to use her salary to support him. I don't have any say in that. I won't actually kick him out of the house, but I will stop paying his bills and cut off our grocery budget by 20%. If she wants to work so he doesn't have to, so if she wants to work so he doesn't have to, there's nothing I can do about that. Oh, I'm glad I don't have to go first here. Hey,
I'm actually glad
what do
I
you
get to
think?
go first on this one.
What do you think?
Okay, so this is, I'm not placing judgment on this family, just the original poster, just Subject Hospital 493. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. So I'm gonna bring in some of my youth worker experience here because I think it's really important, and that is there's one key sentence here, um, that makes me want to get into the nitty gritty of this parenting. He has no interest in anything beyond his computers. Why not talk more about computers and what you can do with computers? There's so many fantastic jobs, university programs, like things you can build on the computer. I
Oh,
remember
you mean
work.
he has no interest? He has no interest beyond the thing that we all use all the time for all of our jobs. Oh
Yes,
no.
is like get a job. No, I'm interested in the computer. Oh, well, let's not talk about that. I remember working in a school where I was working with a kid who like was dealing with some trauma, and they wouldn't do anything except work on the computer. Oh, they won't do math, they won't do English, but we can type things, and we like games that have math in them. So like, why isn't that the learning? And so here we have somebody who's 18 who could be enjoying video games, could be enjoying like a coding type of thing, could be enjoy jobs that involve computers are some of the highest paying jobs in the world, probably more than his family is making, to be honest. And we're just like totally ignoring it. So my point isn't that like maybe like a computer focused job like development or something like that is not for this kid, not for that son, but we have to meet people where they're at, especially as your children. So if they're interested in the computer, start taking the time to talk about that. The other piece here is that it seems from this post, and I'd want to learn more about this and ask some questions to get more data, but it seems like a lot of the relationship this family has with their children is just like, but when you're 18, you're going to get nothing from us. And that's not like, you need to have other things going on other than just the rules and like, but when you're 18. Um, so I think original poster, I mean, I'm sure like there's some learning that they can do here, and some coaching that hopefully they'd be coachable to. But I would say like probably probably a 5, because I think you just got to meet your kids where they're at, and like you literally said it. Maybe not a 5, maybe a 4. He has no interest in anything beyond his computer. Let's talk about the computer. Let's talk about what we can do with that. Let's try out a program. Maybe university is this big scary thing. I remember being in grade 12 or grade 11 and thinking about what I had to apply to be. How the hell did I know? Like I switched my program literally 3 times. I've had like 4 careers already and I'm only 29. Like things change and we don't know by then what we want, and that can be a really scary, overwhelming thing. So yeah, I'd want to ask questions about the computer. I'd want to ask questions about maybe an anxiety type of thing going on, and I'd want to explore, um, like, are they just setting rules all the time and not focusing on, like all the other stuff, like building relationships? Um, I might be a bit biased coming into that one, and that's fine. But and again, for anyone listening, this is our first time reading these. This is just like our gut visceral reaction.
I don't think
Um,
visceral means what you think it means, but
it means
yeah, it is
exactly what I think it means.
sure, whatever.
Let
Yeah,
me
whatever.
let me have this. You were fine with indolent. What does
Yeah,
indolent even
indolent's a
mean?
good word.
What does it even
Visceral is
mean?
a pretty good word too. You know what? Fine. You know what?
What?
We both have a mutual friend that has a master's in English, and she's
Yes.
really helpful in this regard because she'll off the dome tell us exactly what it means. Being arising from impulse or sudden emotion rather than from thought or deliberation. No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. You're completely right. It is a visceral reaction. Um, I think about visceral pain when I think about visceral because of the medical school, but not the not the visceral reaction part. So yeah.
I love talking to you because we can be talking about English and you're like, but when I was in medical school,
Yeah, but when I was, but it's true.
I'm
Visceral,
just kidding. I'm
visceral,
just kidding.
visceral pain's that really like terrible pain. Like, when you swallow something, you swallow like a big thing of water
Yeah.
and it just like you feel like you're dying because it's going
Yeah.
down and it's pushing against your trachea. That's visceral, that's organ pain. It's visceral pain. It sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, what was I saying? Okay, so I agree with you. I think there's three potential things going on here. That one, this kid just has no action, is just lazy, has no interest in doing anything, and then this entire thing can be taken at face value, a 1 out of 10 assholery. Or this kid is going through something, overwhelmed by his options, overwhelmed by the pressure that this kind of approach has put on him, overwhelmed by something going on in his life. A 17-year-old, like 17-year-olds famously, when they're not depressed or anxious, have like a lot of ideas of what they want to do in their life because they haven't been truly beaten down by the world. But there, if any time on social media has taught me anything, is that right now the attitude for young people isn't so much that the world is their oyster so much as it's on fire and it's their job to either put it out or burn in it. So, that's a pretty good reason to be overwhelmed and not have something in mind that you want to do. The last possibility here is that this is like a matter of coddling, right? Like he's been presented with the option, like, we're gonna take care of you forever, don't worry about it, from the mom, or we're going to throw you into the woods from the dad. And I feel like if you have two options like that, you might go to the one that you're more comfortable with, even if it makes your dad really angry in this case. So I will say that all that means is that having a conversation with your son about, and there's also the option that he's just like dope at computers and that's what he wants to do, but he doesn't tell you about it because you have conversations like, we're gonna kick you out, kind of thing. Either way, a conversation would probably go a long way here, where instead of telling your son things, you listen to him.
Bold, bold, bold.
Yeah. And that bumps you up to being a 5 out of 10, because this to me is the most basic. Like, the post that didn't say, my son specifically said that he has no interest in anything. It says he has no it's saying he has no interest. Yeah, he has no interest in anything beyond his computer. That is the most freaking, like, I don't want to say boomer because it's reductive, but like, no, it's the most, your dad doesn't know about anything you like, and so sees that you're on the computer and says, oh, you only care about your computer. It's just lazy. It's lazy is what it is. You're the lazy one here. Talk to your son, find out what he likes. People like things, generally speaking. It's like a pretty common rule. Everyone like has a thing that they enjoy, even if it's not a traditional hobby.
Yes.
So and even if those things are like video games, as if that isn't a career option, people make video games, people review video games, people play video games for a living. So and they journal, they write news articles about video games. There's so many career options in that thing alone, that even if that was the case, you would still have something to encourage your son with. And the fact that you're not is lazy and makes you a 5 out of 10 in my books.
Yeah, I think, and also another, as we're talking about this, there's like another thing too, which is that when you're 17, a lot of people at that age have like negative self-esteem. You have like so little confidence. And if you're that person who's like spending a lot of time in your room, maybe not doing all the socializing in the world, or maybe a lot of it's on the computer, things can get pretty intense. Having that parent who comes up and says like, hey, like, I want, like, let's talk person to person. I'd love to hear more about like what you do on the computer. I want to talk about your interests. I want to learn more about you, my son. Like, that's really, really powerful. So, um, what's their username again? Subject Hospital 493. If you are listening to Am I the Bleep right now, and I hope you are, go have that conversation. Go like see what's up. Bump up your kid instead of like just assuming that they're lazy. Take the time, assume positive intent, assume that they're trying their hardest to figure things out. And you as a parent have the opportunity to like offer some very good help. Um, it's not
Yeah,
just about sending them to the woods or saving them from themselves.
and if we can be kind for a second, you're not an
Please.
asshole for giving those options. Those options aren't the asshole part. The asshole part is that you're giving to them, you're giving them unfeelingly, as if like you should probably go into what those options could look like, not just these are your choices, make a choice. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But you did remind me of something. Circa this would be grade 11, grade 12, probably, this kid. How was your self-esteem circa grade 11, grade 12, Jonathan?
Garbage. Pure garbage.
Garbage?
Like literal garbo. I'm not even going to use the full word because it doesn't deserve it. I don't deserve it. Like literally so bad. Like I remember just like walking around with my headphones in and just like literally in between class, like I'd always put my headphones in. I'd have time for like literally half a Breaking Benjamin song or something like that. And then I would be like, everyone's better than me. I wear graphic tees and everyone's like really like getting strong. And like I'm just this like little emo kid. And I have like some weird chin strap. Nobody likes me. And like literally that was it. Like I don't have the best marks. I don't have this. I don't have that. Everyone's already like preparing to be a doctor and a lawyer and a business person. I'm like, but who am I? And yeah, like absolutely not a great time. Not a great time. How about you?
Well, it would have been between I had lost a lot of weight at that time, so physically I felt the most
Mm-hmm.
confident I've ever felt, but like mentally I was thinking like, oh wow, I really am struggling to keep up with the grades that I'd always had, and I don't really know what I'm doing with these like relationships that I'm in, and
Yeah.
I was pretty sure I wanted to go into the sciences because that's what I liked, but I'm like, oh, it's so competitive. Like, what if I can't get in, or what if I can't do anything afterwards with it? And it's so funny because the universality of the anxieties that are felt in that age group should make you think, oh, everyone should be relating to one another and like talking about it. But no one when we were in high school was really talking about how anxious they were and how down it was making them feel. Everyone was just trying to keep up appearances. Maybe it's still that way. I don't know. I haven't been in high school in a hot minute, but the pressure that this kid is likely under is so intense that it's laughable that you're thinking back to when you were given this option and you're not thinking back to how hard it was to be young and have those options in front of you and not know which choice to make because you don't know how things are going to shake out.
Yeah, like I remember even when I went to university, so I got into the super competitive arts and business program. So I was doing like psych and business major, and I was going to become like the marketing god, which is why I do Am I the Bleep? And then I remember
You're my
switching.
marketing god.
Yeah, yeah, right. And then I remember switching to child and youth care, and it wasn't even the school pressure or my friend pressure, the family pressure. My family, for as long as like everybody in my immediate circle, like immediate family, is an entrepreneur that's been fairly successful. And then here I am, like I don't care about the money. I want to work with the kids and like drive an hour and a half to go like do some important work. And like that, like even now later that I'm an entrepreneur, for me that shaped my career. But back then it was like, Jonathan, what's wrong with you? Like, don't you want a real job? Or like literally I remember I forget which family member, they're like, that's women's work. I'm like the glare, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then I gave them the glare back because that would show them. But there's so much pressure that comes from our family, and especially in a family like this I can relate to, where there's like the family business and like I went to sailing school and all that kind of stuff. Like you got to lay off, give room, have a conversation, and like meet them where they're at instead of expecting them to meet where you are at like 50 something and successful.
Very true. Very
Yeah,
true.
man. So speaking of successful, if you want to
Yeah.
help us be successful, awkward laugh. Follow
No,
us
we're
on
great.
TikTok.
We're great at this. No, keep
So
going.
good.
So good. Every time.
So yeah, if you want to help us be successful, follow us on TikTok. Where I'm doing 3 lives a week now, where I do the same thing, just with less Jonathan Power behind me. Follow us at Jonathan Friedman 1993, but very soon it'll be called Am I the Bleep? And then you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn at Journal That Talks Back. If you or anyone you know is looking for some coaching, we run a service called The Journal That Talks Back, where we're basically the coaching version of text therapy. We have an intake call with you, help match you to the right coach, or help refer you to a resource that may or may not make more sense, or hopefully will make more sense. And our price is just $200 US a month for this unlimited service. No appointments. Generally, the cost of a single session with a professional is around $200 a session, and we charge that for a month. So our goal is to impact as many people as possible through the power of coaching.
What are our socials? How can they hit us up? How can they tell us how
Yeah,
the job we did, or tell us that we're bad at this and that we should stop?
or tell us
And
that we're good.
yeah, probably just tell us that
Probably
we're
the
good.
former.
You're probably
Uh,
more.
yeah, so you can find us again, Facebook, Instagram at The Journal That Talks Back, TikTok at Jonathan Friedman 1993, or soon it'll be Am I the Bleep? And can find us on Hinge. We have we now that there's video on Hinge, we sort of share our own stories from when we were the asshole to hopefully help you find us more attractive. Where else can they find us,
We're on
Sean?
Klube. We're on Klube.
Klube.
We're on
Look at
Klube.
La Klube.
We're on Tout.
Yep.
We're on Third Voice.
Yep.
We're on Google Plus. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're on
like
Google Plus.
Google Plus was shut down
Dedicated.
like 4 years ago, but we kept ours alive. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's like the Tumblr in 5 years.
It's like those guys that were playing on the Halo 2 multiplayer servers like decades after it was not like relevant anymore, and they were just keeping it alive until it forcibly got shut down.
Brutal. And
Yeah.
John, I usually shut you off before this and you have to force your way in, but I want to give you the space to share
Wow.
some wisdom with our listeners.
Okay, and this is a quote that we're gonna build upon for the next little while, really grow with, chew on, etc. The only asshole you are destined to become is the asshole you decide to be.